Hi guys, welcome back to Leafy Thiefy. Sorry I've been gone for a long time, but due to the current quarantine, I've been really busy since I work in essential services, so I still have a full-time job, which means I don't get as much time for some of my hobbies. But today we are actually going to do a tutorial video on a mount. As you can see here, this is a sample of a mount that I did yesterday. And today I'm going to show you guys how I mount. Obviously, there are many different ways to making a mount, and you can use quite a bit of different materials. You don't have to stick with just one thing. So this is how I do it, and I hope this video helps you guys experiment with a mount. Before we get started, let's go over some materials that you'll need in order to make a mount. First thing is you're gonna need some plants. Today we are using staghorns. This tray of staghorns were actually rescued from the trash. A restaurant was throwing them away and I saw them, so I totally picked them out of the trash because I'm such a trash picker. But yeah, and they didn't look like this when I first had them. There's a lot of crisp edges and obviously some dead parts that you can see I trimmed off right there. After I got rid of the soil and I kind of loosened up the roots, this is what I have, which is this plate of plants right here. Another key item you're gonna need is some sort of wood. It doesn't have to be, so clean and crisp like this one. Obviously, you can see I have another cut right there. These wood were given to me by a girl that I met online. I traded some Hoyas with her and she offered me these materials, and she's just really sweet and generous. And there was also a Facebook forum that offered me some wood to trade for some of my plants that I have extras of. So there's really no need for you to go out and buy a block of wood because there's just a lot of free and recycled materials available. Even if you go to like a chain store like Home Depot, they'll have a section where it's cut materials that other people have bought that the store won't sell. So they have a trash pile that you can just get free wood from. So you don't have to, unless you're like just really OCD and you want your wood to be like really perfectly shaped and sized, I think any material will do. And you don't even need to use a block of wood. I was just thinking the other day that I could probably mount a staghorn in this piece of recycled container that used to hold like blueberries or something, because it has a drainage right here. And I'm going to experiment with this in the future, but as of today, we're just going to go ahead and use the standard wood. Over here, I have some sphagnum moss. I would suggest you guys get your hands on some quality sphagnum moss and not use any type of cheap moss because it really benefits your plants. So as you can see, I have a whole bag here prepared. You're not going to need, honestly, that much of these because your mounts aren't going to take that much moss. And if you're doing a staghorn like me, they are epiphytic, so they really don't need that much substrate behind them. But yeah, so here's the moss. When you work with the moss, you want it to be in this kind of a damp state. When you buy the moss, it's obviously dry, so what you're going to have to do is pre-soak it, and then once you soak it, squeeze out all the water, and that's kind of what you'll get once most of the water is gone. So you want it kind of damp. You don't want it like soaking wet because it's just going to get really messy. And then obviously you're gonna need some wire of some sort. You don't have to use wire. I used this wire for another DIY project, so I had some wire on hand. I don't really have any suggestions for what type of wires you can use because you can use a lot of things. You can use thread, you can use shoelaces, you can use strings. There's really like no one key thing you need to use to hold your mount together. Just, be creative. But if you're gonna do like a lot of mounts in the future, then I suggest you can go and buy, yourself some wire that's pretty thin. The one that I'm using today, let's see. Okay, so the one that I'm using is 0.30 millimeter And this to me is pretty thin, but it's not like too thin to hold my mount together. And then obviously you're gonna need a pair of scissors to cut your wire, or whatever type of shears that you have to cut that wire. This is completely optional. I have some nails here. You don't have to have nails in your mount, but if you do put a nail in the back of the mount, you want to make sure that nail doesn't extend too much further than your plank, because you don't want to have like a super long nail just hanging out. And this is totally optional. You don't have to put a nail in your mount. I just found that like with this wire, when I put the nail, it secures it more because I can loop the wire around the nail, so it gives it a little more stability. But if you get a nail and you use it for your mount, then you're gonna need the extra material, which is a hammer, and I don't have a hammer at the moment. I lost my hammer, so I'm gonna find another way of putting this nail into that block of wood. So let's get started. First, you're gonna have this plank of wood, and like I said, this step is completely optional. You can put a nail on the back of the wood, so that's what I'm gonna do. So once your nail is in the back of the wood, you're gonna need your wire. I usually don't cut it out of the reel first. I'm gonna start tying this in the back of this nail, which will kind of help secure the knot. Okay, so now your wire is attached. If you don't put the nail in, like I said, if you skip this step, you just loop the wire around the wood and tie the knot there, so that way your wire is secured to the wood. And it's going to be a little bit harder for you guys to see this wire just because of how thin it is, and that I also have my carpet, which so let's see if we can do a close-up here so you guys can see that this is the wire and now it's hooked on. So now you have your moss and your plants right here. I'm going to take a piece of this staghorn, and I kind of chop the roots down so that it's almost like a ball shape. So you're just going to wrap this root area with moss, and you want to do the back. So you want to have a layer of moss in the back, and then also some layer here holding in this root area. You don't need a lot of moss. You kind of just do what feels right for you. If you have the good quality sphagnum, they're gonna be the fibers are gonna be kind of long, so it allows you to wrap it around. And then I'm just gonna position it on the mount, like about like that. So now we're gonna start just wrapping the wire and securing this on the mount. To make it easier for me to wrap the wire around, I pretty much already pre-cut about 3 feet of this wire. So if you can see, this is where the wire ends. So that way when I'm wrapping it, it's not looping that reel around. So there's like no specific way to how you want to loop it. You just want to see where you can secure it, and then you just wrap it. And I feel like it's missing a little bit of moss right here, so I'm actually going to put a little more moss in this area while I'm making this mount. So now I'm running out of wire. I'm going to just loop this around the nail and tie a knot. Okay, and that's pretty much it. You have yourself a mount. And obviously, as you can see, you get your hands kind of messy while you're doing this. You can just rinse this in the sink, and then once the staghorn acclimates, and you just have to dunk this in water or spray it with water, and the moss will hold in pretty good moisture. Staghorns can live indoors and outdoors, Preferably outdoors is a better condition for them, just because all plants like a good amount of light, and if you're making a mount, you're obviously trying to place it somewhere that's easy to water. So, you know, if you have a yard or something like that, you can just spray it with water. So hopefully you guys liked the tutorial today. Thank you guys again for watching Leafy Thiefy. Let me know in the comments below what you want to see next, and stay safe during this time. I will see you guys next time. Bye!